Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Beal. I'm an intuitive life coach and I'm the founder of this Facebook group, Healing Changes. Last time we met, I talked about my 11 signs of family dysfunction. Today I want to break it down just a bit more and tell you that the first 5 are childhood signs of family dysfunction, and the latter 6 are things that seep into the adulthood of family dysfunction. And we'll talk about those at a later date. Last time we met as well, I talked about the first one was held to unrealistic expectations. And that's where the child is expected to perform like an adult. Number 2 was parentification, where the adult role and the child role is reversed, often due to mental illness or drug or alcohol abuse. We also talked about the ramifications of growing up in this dysfunction. We talked about how that leads to poor identity development, unassertiveness, incapable of developing healthy interpersonal relationships. Those were some of the effects of this. Today I want to move on and talk about the last 3 in the childhood signs. So let's move on to number 3. Your needs were unmet. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. When you have been neglected or ignored, that is definitely a sign of a toxic family. Okay, and this usually stems when the family is unable to divide its energy equally amongst the family members. Usually there's a family member or members with a chronic toxic behavior that gets all the attention. I would even go with all the attention, not even most. They get all of the attention. And that leaves the other people in the family victims of becoming emotionally starved. And when you grow up emotionally starved, that causes insecure attachments. You can become clingy, lack of or respect for boundaries. You can become dependent on people. Or it can do the opposite. It can make you aloof or emotionally avoid everything. So having your needs not met can do one of 2 things: make you super clingy or totally avoid it all. Let's move on. Number 4. Chronic conflict. That's a stick. I grew up with parents who were mostly fighting. Truthfully, I saw them fight way more than I ever saw affection. And that constant festering conflict is definitely a sign of a toxic family. The fights never end. They never get resolved. Because of that, the emotional wounds and the resentment just fester and fester and fester. And kids growing up watching this constant fighting blame themselves for it. They become depressed. They often take on antisocial behavior. And as they become adults, it causes them to become incapable of resolving conflict in any healthy manner, leading to way more resentments, way more emotional wounds. Also leads to corrupt parenting style. You can become abusive, controlling, neglectful. So chronic conflict is where you've never really saw anything get resolved. It's always festering, always an underlining fester. Number 5, the big one: verbal, physical, emotional abuse. Abuse is violence, but violence doesn't just stop with physical abuse. It's also emotional, sexual, psychological, financial, spiritual, even legal abuse. And some of what it looks like in different things is inappropriate touching of your body, sexual comments about your body, vicious name calling, physical assaults, gaslighting. Those are a few. They're not all of them, but those are a few of what abuse would look like, of the different kinds. And even if you just witnessed it, any of it, and you weren't the actual victim of it, it still has the same detrimental, profound effect as it does on the victim. So it causes deep-seated psychological effects that depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, which leads to another cycle of not trusting, not coping, on and on. So, all in all, if you've witnessed it, it has just as a child, it has the same thing as the adults that were in it, or if you were the victim of it. So, having said that, I want to reiterate that none of this was your fault. None of it. You didn't deserve it, and it wasn't your fault. It's a generational thing, and we're here to work on that. So, those are the 5 of the childhood signs. If any of those resonate with you, please feel free to reach out. Leave me a comment. I do read everything. I will get back to you. If this rings true for somebody you know, please invite them to the group. I'd love to share it with them. I also wanted to remind everybody, I'm going to be offering my free workshop on February 22nd. I'm going to come on live this week with the details, for sure by next week. And I hope to see you all there. I'm also putting together a program on healing all our generational wounds. So everything will be announced at a later date this week. Stay tuned. I look forward to it. I want you to all have a really good week. Stay safe. Peace. Bye now.